Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another inspiring episode of Rise Urban Nation podcast. I'm your host, Terrell Simmons, and today we diving into the power of transformation, growth, resilience. Our guest, Daron Franklin. Y'all may know him as Coach Frank. Before there was Coach Prime, there was Coach Frank. Coach Frank is a human, let me know if I'm saying this correctly, a human performance coach with over 20 years of experience and empowering individuals, teams, and organizations to break limits and reach their full potential. Tell us, Coach Frank, what in the world is a human performance coach?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I mean, just being able to get the best out of people and giving them the tools to be able to excel and exceed their potential. I thought that, hey, people are humans and a performance is what we do, right? So why not come up with that title, human performance coach?
I love that. And we're going to learn more about this man, but this man started from as a mathematics student facilitator to becoming a transformational athletic coach and now an empowerment leader. And his journey is just phenomenal. I got to connect with him. Was it a Speaker Hub's call? Was it
Speaker Hub? Yep.
Yeah. How did you get involved with Speaker Hub?
Well, I'll tell you what, man, it's ironic, just on the journey, using the first vehicle as a public speaker, professional speaker, updating my LinkedIn, evolving it, right? And then one day I just get this random email from Ron Story and on LinkedIn. And he emailed me and I got the email and I went back and searched him on LinkedIn and I messaged him on LinkedIn and asked, did you just send me an email to make sure it wasn't spam? Because it was like the reading of the email was like, hey, it's last minute. Can you get on this summit? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So I had to read it again and make sure I understood. He wasn't asking me to travel anywhere. And it was a Zoom.
Yeah.
And from there, we've made plenty of connections. It's been awesome. And just continue to evolve in the speaking business, man.
Yeah, shout out to Ron. Ron he's a go-getter. He'll do whatever it takes to get the job done, get people connected, get the right folks in the room. I had him for those who don't know, if you're just joining the podcast, we had Ron back on, I think last year, and that's when we connected over a different event. And then I reconnected with Ron this year. That's how I got invited to the Speaker Hub thing, and then that's how I met Daron. And, Daron's journey is a testament to the power of embracing challenges and turning them into opportunities. He's the founder of F42 Empowerment, where he helps build self-confidence and leadership skills through actionable tools for personal and professional development, whether you're looking for inspiration to transition careers or seeking strategies to elevate your leadership game. This episode is going to be packed with wisdom. So let's welcome Coach to the podcast.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let's kick things off, Daron. Can you tell us about your journey and what initially sparked your passion for empowering others?
I'll tell you what, man. Tell y'all, it's been a long journey. As I mentioned, man, I've been able to be blessed to be able to do these things over and over for so many years. But I'll take you even back to the village, right? Mm-hmm. That really inspired me back in New Orleans, born and raised in New Orleans. And both my mom and dad were leaders. Man, I saw my dad, even though they divorced when I was a teenager, I saw my dad work the graveyard shift at the post office for like 10, 15 years, right? And then I saw him come home and be a dad every day. He was a black cowboy, man. He had a horse. He'd go take care of the horses and do that over and over. I'm like, man, once I got older, I was like, man, that's why I developed my work ethic from, And then seeing my mom, she's been an educator for a majority of my lifetime. Man, she just pouring into the youth and adults in the city of New Orleans. And now, man, she's impacting adults also with Brothers Empowered to Teach. That's an organization that's getting African-American males into the teaching profession. And now she's working with them, man. And those two people, obviously, man, my mom, my dad, and then the village of just cousins, sisters, brothers, family that encouraged me so much. And one particular, Tariel, that event that happened when I was 15 years old helped to mold the leadership in me. My first job was with Tambourine and Fan summer camp. All right. And there's a historical figure from the civil rights movement, Brother Jerome Smith. Big Duck is his name. And
Yeah.
he just taught us so much about leadership. He taught us about our culture and how to use the tools that are given to you, collaborate with one another, and learn how to fight for freedom. Right?
Yeah.
And this is back in 1995. And since then, man, I believe that those events and my mom, my dad in the village have allowed me to grow as a leader, as an athletic leader, football team captain, all those types of things, leading my home, my kids, and just leading others, man, naturally being able to do that.
Yeah, so I can see where you're coming from, that work ethic, the educator part. What motivated you to pursue a career in athletics? Because I see the education from your mom, but what really catapulted the career in athletics
I mean,
initially?
growing up in New Orleans, that's the deep South, right? So it's like,
Yeah, yeah. You ain't got that.
football is a way of life.
Like, I feel like New Orleans and Texas, they football is life, sports is life out there.
Yeah, man. Growing up in the deep South, man, football is life. Uh, my big brother, who really is my cousin, David, Coach Yak Johnson. He's the running backs coach at
Yeah.
Florida State, man. He was my big brother growing up, and just watching him, man. They always tease us. He and I, we used to play football on the electric football machines, man,
Mhm.
at his mom's in them house, and just watching him playing. And then, he was like that big brother to me. And that's how I got
Mhm.
into it, man. My dad was my first coach at Milne Playground into
Yeah.
football. And I tell you what, man, back in the day, I used to draw plays as a kid, and I was hooked,
Mhm.
man. But I was always one of those guys who was able to be cerebral on the football field.
Mhm.
Hence, I played free safety, always able to line people up and understand the game, and that really took me. That elevated me through higher heights in athletics, just understanding the
Yeah.
game. And I've always been a coach. Some of my former teammates tell
Yeah.
me that, being a coach on the field. So naturally, man, that transition for me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that natural transition for you. And then I'm even thinking of, how coaches have affected me through my life, and how I learned some of the things I do in leadership through from coaches. And then, and if anybody's paying attention to what Coach Prime is doing, they see the leadership side of it. When you look at it from your experience as a coach, how does that coaching and being a coach shape your approach to leadership and empowerment?
I tell you what, the biggest thing, and this is what I see from afar from Coach Prime and the successful coaches, and sometimes success doesn't always equate to the number of wins. All right,
Yeah.
and it doesn't always equate to you having more points than the other team. All right,
Hmm.
but the success, the way I measure it is when kids have come up to me over 20 or so years and say, "Coach, man, I appreciate you doing this for me. I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate you being able to correct me when I was wrong, right? And
Hmm.
encourage me when I'm doing the things right." But the success of it, man, is just now. Obviously, you won't win, so
Yeah.
that let's ever make sure we get that complete. But those tools have helped me now. Number one, learning who my players are,
Mm.
because you got to understand. Before I ask these kids to go do anything athletically, there are three types of athletes, man. There are kids that are there just to participate. There are kids that like the sport, and then there are kids that love the sport. The kids that love the sport, they're gonna show up no matter what. But I gotta
Mhm.
work with those other two categories to get the best out of them. But I gotta know about
Mhm.
them to know if they really like it, love it, or just participating. So,
Mhm.
from a leadership standpoint, a coaching standpoint, understanding who I'm leading, and that's also the
Yeah.
adults too. And I guess we'll talk
Yeah.
about that later from the teaching side of it.
Yeah, we can talk about that later. And I get to test that you really about that life. I was watching one of your videos on Instagram, and you was talking to these kids, and you was talking about those who love this, they intrinsically like are motivated. They
Yeah.
don't need any other excuses to show up. And you gave this passionate speech, but I remember you talking about that, how that separates the good from the great because of that intrinsic. They like, coach, what could I be doing better? They show up early, they leave late, they just, is this intrinsically the thing that gets them out of bed to get to
hmm
that greatness.
Yep.
So,
And honestly, man, I'm able to use those tools myself, as we go into the next chapter of my life, right? Because I love
mhm.
football now. When I told people that I wasn't coaching football anymore, they were like, "What?" So,
They're like, well, what you gonna do?
right,
That's that because they probably that your whole purpose in life is the coach football. Like it's in your DNA.
yeah. So, like for real, man, some people were very shocked that
Yeah.
I'm not coaching football anymore, because when I'm giving those speeches, a lot of that is that's real life experience. I'm not telling you
Mhm.
what somebody told me you got to do. I'm telling you what I lived. And
Mhm.
just being able to understand that, okay, as an athlete, former athlete, I can now use those traits and those skills, those transferable skills, to now empower
Yeah.
people and lead a business.
Yeah. I want to dive deep into that just a little bit, like into challenges and this pivot that you're talking about, because every transformation and journey comes with a set of challenges. And could you share what led to this pivotal moment where you like, no longer coaching football. I'm going into this. I'm a professional speaker now, and I'm going to do this, and this is what it is. And then as you're going through this, like what's the hurdles that tested your resolve, and how do you overcome it?
I tell you what, man, those are some good questions, and it's a lot, but for the audience to get it all, I knew back in so my last head coaching job, I was at Fort Worth Southwest High School, right here in
Yeah,
the DFW Metroplex. Did 3 years there. Um, Within Fort Worth ISD, man, we were 13-3, made the playoffs every
yeah,
year, and program was growing. But the effort that was required to have a productive day was very, very, very challenging, right?
mm,
So I walked away from that head coaching job, and most people don't do
mm,
that. But I knew inside, man, it was taking a toll on me. And I
mm,
let you know now, we're winning. We're building things. Other programs under my leadership as an athletic coordinator are winning, making playoffs. But I knew that I just felt the wear and tear on my mind and my spirit, right?
mm,
So I went ahead and became an assistant coach in South Grand Prairie. That's where my son just finished up last night. And then I said, man, I just want to do one more thing. I want to just be a defensive coordinator without having to be a head coach, because I never had that opportunity. And to
yeah,
be honest with you, after teaching and coaching for so long, I just felt like I could do something different
mm,
with the talents that God has blessed me with all the experiences that I've had. But I knew I wanted to stay into the coaching realm, right?
yeah,
But I also knew that I wanted to develop a flexible lifestyle, because
yeah,
when you're working 7 days a week for possibly 6 months out of the year,
hmm.
that's a huge requirement. And
It is.
if
It
you know, you
is.
know, you know.
Yeah, I know. I know. Like, and that's the biggest thing. Like, how do you? And I think that's what fuels a lot of entrepreneurs, that we wanna gain back our time, man. How do we build something that allows us to regain our time and live life more freely on our terms, so that we can have those moments with family, travel, whatever it is that you desire, right?
Yep.
And no longer in the trenches, but take those skills and that we've been able to add value in people's lives and the jobs that we've had or the work that we've done, and translating that to a business. Uh, I, I'm curious to know for you, what's the most difficult part of transitioning from athletic coaching to becoming a human performance coach and now business owner?
Right. So went through a divorce a couple of years ago, and my lady that I'm dating now, I would always tell her like, hey, I just helped this coach out with something. I helped this kid out with something as I was making my exit. And she was like, well, have you ever thought about sharing your story? And she sent me some stuff from some past athletes who were speakers, coaches. And I said, I'll try it. And as
Mhm.
Frank Kitchens mentioned, I received a legal high. It felt like a legal high. My first talk, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm hooked, because what it feels
Uh-huh.
like, honestly, when I'm about to give a speech, it feels like I'm about to run out the tunnel as a player or a coach.
Oh, I love that.
And the preparation that goes into it also, right?
Yeah.
However, man, the challenges have been, okay, how do you continue to market yourself not only as just a coach and not only as just a speaker, because F42 Empowerment is going to also evolve to this. We're going to continue to, as a human performance coach, we're going to train in corporate America. We're going to train organizations, right? We want to continue to train and develop teachers, okay? Especially teachers who are new to the profession, because the biggest thing I think right now that's happening in education is just teacher retention and, and teacher attraction, right? So I've been able to be blessed to be in 13 or 14 different educational communities. That's what I call them.
Come on now.
All right. So I've been a new teacher that amount of time, that many times. But obviously, when you're a veteran teacher and you're going to a new campus, Algebra 1 is Algebra 1, man. I don't care what we put them. You walking into Coach Frank's class, you're going to learn today, right?
You're going to learn today. All right.
And it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is the challenge right now is just being able to get that brand out there and let people know that, look, I'm not just an athlete. I'm not just a former athlete. I'm not just an athletic administrator or just an athletic coach or just a mathematics teacher. I have a lot of experiences, perspectives about life that can help new teachers to the profession. And really, man, we want to make those principals and those school leaders the hero and help them retain those people who are talented to be in those communities. And then we want to be able to help and guide organizational leaders to be able to help their employees or the people on their staff to grow and develop also. So the challenge is just being able to get that brand out there and let people know what we're doing and how we can help to guide them to elevate to higher heights.
Well, I love that. Even in the challenges, you still have the strategies that you're using to elevate past that. And diving further into like strategies and success, I want to talk a little bit about, some of your achievements. F42, one highlighted being in all of those schools. Congratulations. That's powerful. F42 Empowerment has been instrumental in guiding individuals and organizations. Can you share like one or two success stories that really highlight the impact of your work?
Most definitely. I'll just talk briefly about a recent experience with the magnificent male experience of Xavier University. Okay, so a couple of Saturdays ago, was invited by the leader of that organization, Brother Desmond Collins, and we met this fall, and he asked me to come be a speaker that they have monthly. So about 30 to 40 young men who were either in the 10th, 11th, 12th grade or freshmen in college. And just having a chance to share with them about earning while you learn. Okay. And basically what we're earning is life currency. Not the type of currency that you can spend or trade for goods or services, but life currency as far as that experience that you need to get better every day. And to hear the feedback, to be a part of the engagement with those young men on a Zoom call, not in person, but on a Zoom call, and them being appreciative of the tools that were given to them about certain things such as time management, certain things such as not waiting for doors of opportunity, but understanding that if you have the key, you can walk through it, you're blessed. If you knock on a door and no one answers, it's okay. And if someone does answer and they tell you no, that just means not yet. Giving them those types of tools was very enlightening to me. And then also did a talk with a faith-based organization a while back, actually the church that I grew up in, New Orleans, Christian Unity Baptist Church. And we just talked about action and faith in action. And, talking about overcoming those challenges, right? I mean, every day, building a new business as an entrepreneur, I'm putting forth the action. That's how you and I met, right? And then having the faith in your actions. And basically, man, just kind of tying that to the parable of the farmer who spread his seeds, and I tied it to a part of my dream. And, we talked about that flexibility. I'm growing a garden down in Louisiana at my dad's estate. We call it the Brown Gate Ranch, my sisters and I. And just spreading some watermelon seeds this summer, man. Watching them grow. But then listen to this right quick. I put up a fence. I'm a city boy living in the country now, right? and our horse broke down the fence because he smelled the watermelons. He ate up my watermelons and my cantaloupes and stuff, man. So, as we know about that parable of the farmer who spread his seeds, some of them blossomed, some of them got ate up by birds. Well, some of mine did blossom. I was able to get 1 or 2 harvests of the cantaloupes, but unfortunately, the horse ate them all. But what does that tell me, right? Hey, I need to do things different, make an adjustment, and continue with the action and faith, with the faith and action. And hearing those adults who have seen me all my life, and some strangers on there, people who are experiencing F42 for the first time, man, they really love the way that we was able to make it relevant.
I love that.
And
I love even the analogies that you use too. That it's so heartwarming to see that. And for all my church going folks, because I'm a man of faith too. But listen to what my man saying. Faith without works is dead. It's good to have faith, but what's the actions you're gonna do to make sure when you have faith, you plant these seeds, you can't just go on faith that they're gonna grow without watering them.
Yeah, man. So and again, that just comes again from being able to teach, man. Teaching algebra 1, that's not easy now.
Yeah.
That's not easy. To 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, and sometimes some older kids who missed it and needed for a semester, right?
Yeah.
And most times that's the tested subject. And not to go too far down the education deal, but if you can pass 9th grade, the research shows that you can make it. But the research also shows that if you fail math or English in the 9th grade, you're prone to drop out of high school. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. I learned that when I was gaining my educational leadership master's at Xavier University back in 2010. Majority of my time.
At that age, and help them with that.
Yeah, have to.
That creates a big leap for them in their life. So you was doing some really profound work. Now that I'm unpacking all that you just said.
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you said earlier, when we was talking about Coach Prime, and we was talking about the values of winning and all that stuff. And you had said that the wins and losses are not all about the wins and losses in those columns, but like you started to allude what success looks like outside of this, the bracket of wins and losses and X's and O's. How do you measure success both personally and for those you mentor?
That's a good question, man. Personally, success looks like growth to me. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm all in on F42 Empowerment and building it, right? And right now, as you're building a business, the cash flow may not match your actions or your effort right now. But if you have that faith and you believe in what you're doing, and you have some vision to see what you can't see, what's right in front of you, then you'll understand that your impact will also impact your bottom line because you're running a business, your human impact, right? So success for me looks like growth. And I'll just tell you, man, hey, being on a podcast like this, I started off with a Canva website. Nothing wrong with that.
You got to start where you know. You got to start until you grow.
Yeah, because I had used Canva to get kids recruited as football players and built the football website for the high school players. So I used what I know, right? And then a couple people saw me, like you mentioned, they saw me on Instagram early on. They were like, hey, man, what you're saying is very impactful. Send me your website. So I sent it to them, and then them being transparent with me is like, hey, man, look, you're really going to be able to grow with this. You have to change a few things on your website. You got to get a more professional website. Cool. I found out what resources I need to use, reached out to the village some more, developed the website over and over, had people look at it. That's success to me. Because I started off where I was, right? And then I had some growth. Personally, I could have easily been like, nah, I'm going to use my ego. I'm good. Which most people do, right?
Yeah.
I said, no, I'm not a prideful man like that. Hey, if I can learn from somebody else's experiences, I'm going to do that because I believe experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
And then for the students or for the organizations or for the staff people that we are helping with performance, their success It's measured on, okay, what tools did you receive from Coach Frank? How did you implement them? And what has happened next? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're able to share with us, hey, here are the tools we use. Here's how we implemented them. Here was the result of it. The situation got better. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, we talk about celebrating small wins, right? And
Yeah.
read this book about developing habits by Charles Duhigg. And when you celebrate those small wins, they turn into better habits. Well, I kind of twisted a little bit, and just being engaging with people. I said, hey, listen, when you find a small win could just be you and your family were able to have meals together 3 out of the 7 days in a week versus 1 day out of the week. That's a small win.
Yeah.
Take a selfie of yourself or a short video of yourself describing that small win, or type on your selfie or write over it describing that small win and save it in your photos, because you're going to have a day where life is going to life.
Yeah.
But if you
It
can refer
is.
back to that small win, it gives you some encouragement to be able to go beyond that limitation or that edge.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just an example, man, of just some
I love
tools,
that.
relevant, practical tools. And again, that comes from teaching. I understand that you're supposed to go by this certain book and all that, but then my students went in, Coach, I don't know about that. Coach, I never seen snow before. We live in the deep south. So I had to make those lessons relevant.
Yeah.
And the same thing with these
But
tools that we're providing.
and I think that's an important thing that a lot of educators can learn from you is how do you switch it up and make it relevant? Like sometimes we get educators in our communities that are just so textbook and they learn about, how to do things a certain way from the theory, but in actuality of how you take that theory and put it into applied learning for our community is totally different in practice. And learning to be able to pivot like that and make it so that people can grab the knowledge and be successful and get to that next level. So I love the way that you broke that down. Um, well, I'll talk about your lessons, any lessons along the way and advice, because I know you have plenty of stories that you can share and your journey is so inspiring. What are some lessons that you learned along the way that other people who are, whether aspiring entrepreneurs, business leaders, community developers, can take to heart?
I would tell you this one thing that I always, if I had a chance, and we hear this a lot, if I could talk to my 18-year-old self again, all right, I heard that on the podcast with the knuckleheads, the players union, and just things like that, right? If you could go
Yeah.
back and talk to your 18-year-old self, and man, I have a 17-year-old son and a 16-year-old daughter. The
Uh-huh.
biggest thing that I challenged them with, because I knew I could have done it better, was being able to network and have the opportunities and understanding to meet people like yourself in different
Mm-hmm.
spaces and connect with them.
Yeah.
Because I was a quiet kid,
Mm-hmm.
and wearing a football helmet. Yeah, I played basketball too, but a lot of people didn't even know, man, that I was a leader on the team. Because I didn't necessarily brag about things. I stayed to myself. I was a nerd too, man. I was
Yeah.
interested in winning in life and on the football field and the basketball court. But if I could go back and being able to talk to people and communicate with people and find out what other people are doing and what their interests are, back when I was a teenager and in college and as a young adult, developing those networking skills, that's something that I would have done better. And that's something that I share
Yeah.
now, especially when the audience of students and young people. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they feel like I don't have to get to know the person sitting next to me. Well, you should, because you don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
And if you guys exchange just the things that you like right now, you may have some commonalities that can help you guys to be successful for your family, for individually, for business. So that's one lesson that I've learned,
Right.
and
That's a very valuable lesson.
yeah, to be able to apply it.
I,
And I challenge the audiences to do that.
Yeah, so networking is so undervalued. Sometimes I would say, I saw somebody had on was it on a T-shirt or maybe on Instagram? Somebody said your network is your net worth, something that to that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's that old saying, it's not what you know, it's
Who you know.
who you know, right? And that's true in many instances. And I'll do you one better. It's who knows you.
That's it.
And here's what I mean. Like if you've done a really excellent job at networking, oftentimes, um, because people know you, they refer you to other people. And like some of my best deals, my name got mentioned in rooms that my
Mm-hmm.
feet haven't even touched.
That's it.
And because somebody knew of me and they knew of the work that I do and they was inspired by it and they loved the work that I was doing, they mentioned my name in a room full of opportunities, and those opportunities came, and I didn't even have to do anything.
That's it.
I just they just did the work for me. And so like, yes, keep the it's not what you know, it's who you know, but who knows you?
Yes.
And how do you get your name into those rooms without even being in them?
Well, and another thing, man, you're definitely correct, and that's something as I'm talking about is a challenge of building F42 in its early stages right now, right? So that people will know who we are and what we do. But
Mm-hmm.
there's also a book, man, that I want to read, that I've saved the title, and I believe it's something that goes like this: "What got you there won't keep you there."
Mm.
Right? And it goes hand in hand with who you know can get you there. What you know will keep you there.
Mm.
Right?
So
So,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just something, man, that right in line with what you're speaking about.
I love that. I love that. I want to pick your brain on like a little bit about your work on, leaders building confidence. Cause I feel like that's a big component of it. Or I could be wrong. But from your perspective, how can leaders build confidence and inspire their teams?
It's a good question, man. I was asked that a little earlier in the week here, and again, I think it goes back to building those relationships and those rapport. Okay,
Mm.
and I'll give you an example. Uh, it's just young when I was a head coach. Okay, and even in the
Hmm.
classroom, I'm gonna give a nugget to the coaches and the teachers.
Yeah.
Teachers, teachers, if you want to find out who the leaders are in your classroom, just sit back and watch who the kids gravitate to. Teachers,
Mm.
if some kids are not following your classroom procedures or they're having some classroom management issues with those kids, they're probably leaders and you need to be able to cultivate their individual leadership skills that they have acquired naturally and help them to be leaders in your classroom. All right.
Mm. I
Same
love
thing
that.
with the football guys. Man, I used to look for kids who were older siblings who had younger siblings, and I would just figure out what their stories were because if they had to take care of their younger siblings at some point in time, they've already got the natural leadership skills. Think
Mm.
about how many kids, man, in urban areas have to catch the school bus or catch the train or drive their younger siblings or walk their younger siblings to school every day. And then they got to go to
Hmm.
school. And then they have to come home from school and warm the dinner up, do their homework, and make sure that their younger siblings can get ready to go do it all over again. They're already acquiring a lot of life currency in leadership.
Hmm.
Now you just now show them, hey, you know how you have to build a rapport with your younger brother or younger sister to get them do what they don't want to do. I need you to do the same thing, and here's how I'm going to help you by building those deposits with your teammates so that when you do need to give them some constructive or critical feedback, they're not going to just brush you off because you've already built a rapport with them, just like you have to with your younger brothers or siblings to get them to do what you need to do so y'all can win at home.
Hmm.
But again, I don't know if that's any theory books, but I'm just telling you what I
Yeah.
observe. That's to me very
Yeah.
natural and logical.
I think so too. That's very natural and logical, and I think a lot of the teachers and coaches are going to take those words of wisdoms with them gems, and I think if they implement it, it's going to take a long way. So I appreciate those nuggets. I'm actually thinking about that myself if I have to be in the classroom ever again, because I'm not a teacher, but sometimes I go speak in classrooms and so forth and work with students. And so I'm like, you know what? He on to something there. I might have to add that to my repertoire.
Yeah, man. And to answer the other part of the question, the self-confidence. Look, I think we all go through it. Even myself,
Okay.
right? We all go through it, man. Just doubting yourself. Sometimes some of us are just overthinkers. But
Mhm.
I think that what we have to understand and let people know that it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
And it's kind of contradictory because if you're in any educational setting, any post-secondary setting, you're going to be tested and you're going to get feedback to whether you passed or failed. And sometimes, man, we take that into regular life also, and we base off a quantitative assessment. But sometimes when you fail in life, it's a lesson. And you have to be able to use that
Mm-hmm.
failure to help you to overcome the obstacle, right? Learn from the failure, learn what you did good and what you need to fix, and then turn it into a lesson. If we
Mm-hmm.
can do that, I believe that helps us with our self-confidence. Also, without helping
Yeah.
us with our self-confidence, man, and especially in this world that we live in with the younger generation, and not just in high school. I'm talking about young adults also. Uh, I heard Cat Williams say this a while back, man, and I've added it to my toolbox. You got to be in tune with your star player, and you are the star
Mm-hmm.
player of you.
Yeah.
You got to be in tune with that, man. You got to be able to find ways to love yourself, appreciate yourself, and don't worry about what other people are thinking about you. How do you
Mm-hmm.
do that? Again, one exercise when I talked about the small wins activity, taking that selfie, man, writing over it, typing over it,
Mm-hmm.
recording yourself, blessing yourself. Man, just write affirmations. I do that on my mirror, man. Hey, I'm exceptional, I'm extraordinary, and I'm also excellent. Those are just some things
Mm-hmm.
that I write and with a dry erase book marker on my mirror so I can see it every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think, people often forget in every failure, there's a lesson. And if you can truly capture the essence of the lesson in that failure, then you'll receive the blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think all the failures that I've had in life until I really got the lesson, um, is when later on I got the blessing of being able to use that wisdom or share that story that helped elevate me and helped elevate others.
Yeah, because I also share this with the audience and the people that we're impacting with the trainings. Every day, man, we have two options. If you're blessed
Mm-hmm.
to rise with that sun, either you're gonna stay the same or you're gonna get better.
Mm,
And if
facts.
you stay in the same, you're wasting a day. So why not try to get better? Now I can't quantitate. I
Mm-hmm.
can't quantify if you're getting 1% better, 10% better. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just asking you, as you just mentioned, learn from what you did in the past, put it all together so you can make the best out of the present, but then also help yourself to better move forward in the future.
Love that. Love that. Man, so many gems dropped today. My man, Darren, it is, I could talk to you forever, but I don't do the Joe Rogan type podcast. But, but man, it's been such a pleasure having you on the show. Your story is a powerful reminder that with the right mindset and tools, we can really overcome any obstacle. And before I wrap up, I just want our listeners to know, where can they learn from you, with you, connect with you, and learn more about F42 Empowerment.
Well, I'm glad you asked, man. The first place is, and I'm asking, you'll put this in the show notes, our website, www.daron, Daron, Franklin.com. There you can find out more about us, connect with us. You can also view some testimonies. You can also view some inspirational tools that we have uploaded there. And then on social media, we're there on LinkedIn. Obviously, you can type in the name,
Mm-hmm.
Daron Franklin. On Instagram, Coach, the number 2, coach_inspire. Once again, that's on IG, coach_inspire. And that's where we are, man. And, we're looking forward to connecting with people. We're looking forward to learning from other people, collaborating with people, and also building people up.
Love that, because that's what we're all about here at Rise Urban Nation. And for all those tuning in, don't worry, we're going to put it in show notes, but be sure to visit www.daronfranklin.com to learn more about F42 Empowerment. Don't forget to subscribe to Rise Urban Nation podcast and share this episode with someone who could really use a dose of inspiration. Stay tuned for our next episode where we continue to amplify the voices shaping the Black and Pan-African entrepreneurial landscape. I'm Terrell. That's Daron. Peace.
Peace.